that was pretty interesting timing for the music today. Welcome everyone to today's show. Let's see, I'm going to do me over. Here we go. Today we are talking about PTZ Optics, and they've got this camera called the Move 4K. That's going to be the focus of today's show, and thank you all for being here today. And I actually had a really good comment come in early. Let me throw this one up because it is directly on point. Fantastic cameras. I have the Move SE 30X. Free NDI HX is a bonus, and Hive linked is going to be amazing. Northwest UK here. So thank you very much. I had to put that in because we like to know where everybody is watching from. So if you're tuning in, let us know where you're watching from today. And I will have to agree. A lot of the cameras, you can buy a Panasonic. Let me put this down here because it's loud. You can buy a Panasonic. You can buy a Canon. You can buy... wow, I'm blanking out. A Panasonic, Canon, Sony, and there's other Marshall. You can buy all these PTZ cameras, and you're going to pay extra for the NDI license. In some cases, $300. In some cases, $400 extra for the NDI license, which I'm told is a percentage of the retail price. And these are already multi-thousand-dollar cameras. I believe the Move that I have is $999. So I've got this one right here. It is already powered up via NDI. We'll get to that in a second. And but they're available in different zoom ranges. It's an interesting way of offering cameras in that there's one line, I guess it's one technology, or one platform level, but available in different zoom ranges, as opposed to the smaller zoom range is a different whole series of camera, and then the middle zoom range is this type of camera, and then the bigger zoom range is that type of camera, and they're completely different and operate differently. Because honestly, if you think about where PTZ cameras come into play, especially in terms of like, if I'm doing church, if I'm doing a conference or anything like that, where you've got a stage and then you want to pick people out on a stage, having a wide shot is very handy, and being able to vary that wide shot, like wide of the stage, wide just of this area, or if you're gonna have a little panel event, zoom in from the stage, just get the panel event, but you get the whole thing, and then just the whole stage, or a little wider than the stage if people are walking up for awards, or you want to include the audience for applause or interaction or something like that. So you want to vary that wide shot, but then right next to it you can have another PTZ camera that is tight on the podium, or it can follow people around, because nowadays, the tracking software is part and parcel with these cameras. It used to be 5-10 years ago, if you wanted tracking, oh my goodness, that was that was a whole separate multi-thousand-dollar license or something. Like now that's being bundled in. Bird dogs come with tracking, the PTZ optics come with tracking, so a lot of the tracking is built in. So now you can sit there with the software, click on the presenter, and as they walk around the stage, this thing is just going to track them back and forth, and you don't have to have a camera operator just do this manual task of following this single person back and forth. Now, if you want to do a panel event and you want to have another camera point at the person speaking, you kind of have to guess. So I'm going to throw it to Mary. Okay, I know who Mary is. I'm going to, use an operated camera for that one. I find that works a lot better. But in terms of just having that camera sitting on the presenter, a PTZ camera, because they built PTZ into the name, I was tripped up there. A PTZ camera of any brand is a great solution. So today I'm going to be talking about the PTZ Optics Move. Oh, it's backwards. Wait, let me do this. Boop. There we go. The PTZ Optics Move 4K PTZ camera. Disclaimer, this was provided by PTZ Optics for me to do a video about it. I haven't paid for the camera. I'm gonna have to give the camera back when I'm done with it, but I just want to be full disclosure, they're not paying for this video. I kind of wish they would, but they got their own channel and they got their own videos, so they don't really need me to do that. But so today we're going to be talking about the Move 4K, and I have one here in the studio. A couple more comments came in. Green, I hope everyone is in Miami. Yes, Miami and all the areas that are ravaged by the hurricanes, but definitely those down in all of the Florida area. Actually, Miami is kind of like lower below. They're probably not going to get hit too much, but everywhere in the middle of Florida is going to be in danger. St. Kitts, I think you're probably the hurricane's not going to come near you. You're definitely below the hurricane area, but thank you for being here, St. Kitts, from St. Kitts. And one last one, picture quality as compared to mirrorless camera. That's a really good question. And I will get into PTZ just means it pans, it tilts, and it zooms. It has nothing to do, this says nothing about whether it's mirrorless. And to that point, Sony has come out with a mirrorless body, one of their alpha bodies that you can put a lens onto, and it's built into this pan and tilt, and with the right lens, zoom housing. So you can have mirrorless quality and shallow depth of field within certain constraints, because usually larger sensors means having a big zoom is really hard, and big glass is heavy, and unless you're going to be able to shift that thing back, there's a whole physics problem with that. But you can get mirrorless quality now because Sony has come up with a mirrorless PTZ camera. But generally, if you're going to squeeze a 20x optical into this, you're talking about doing it with a small sensor. Half-inch sensor, maybe 1-inch sensor, I think is as big as some of them get. But then those cameras are indeed larger. And then, of course, whether you have a 10x, 20x, or 30x zoom is more glass, and usually a larger front glass as well. So in general, the picture quality can be comparable. What you're going to see, the difference is if you are close enough, you are going to get a shallower depth of field with a larger sensor, whether it be a 1-inch sensor, whether it be Sony's APS-C, I think it is, or full frame sensor on that mirrorless version. But if you're using these at a concert or in a church or in a conference room, and the stage is, 10 meters away, 20 meters away, way down there, and you're using a 20x lens to get it, the difference in terms of shallow depth of field is not really going to be tangible. It's not going to be a feature that you're using a mirrorless camera for. A mirrorless camera also gives you a larger sensor, which gives you bigger photo sites or more photo sites, so better low light capability. But then again, if you are at a performance hall or a conference center or a church or a dance recital or a play, the stage is lit and you have lighting. If you have people moving around without lighting, yes, a smaller sensor will be harder pressed to deliver a great image. Like if you're doing a wedding reception and there isn't lighting on the dance reception floor, then you're really relying on the camera to have a high ISO capability or high gain capability without noise. If you're talking about a stage area where there can be lighting, and generally usually is lighting, then the other feature of mirrorless cameras becomes less important, and that is the less noise. Because you have lights, you have gain, you don't have to gain up so high, you don't have to go to such a high ISO. So the picture quality can be comparable in those situations where you have light and you are far away, which are the two areas where PTZ cameras are primarily used. So thank you for that question. That's a very good question. And again, I thank you all for being here as part of this live show, because that's the whole point why we're here. You're here, I'm here. This is a live show and you have the ability to ask a question as opposed to watching an AI generated video that just repeats what's on a spec sheet. I don't like those things either, and especially with the fake voices. The voices will get better. The quality of the content won't, because it's not actually giving you information from experience. It's not going to be able to answer your questions like that. If you are new to the show, I see all the questions are coming in from YouTube, but if you are new to the show, we have the StreamTek channel on YouTube over there. If you aren't already a subscriber, please subscribe and watch a video or two. Put a playlist on repeat forever. Thank you. But that's where all the content is. And I actually do posts about different things. So it's not actually listed down here, but there's posts. Oh, community. I think it's in community. So you come over here in community, and I also posted down here that YouTube has now, I don't know where it's going. YouTube has now lengthened the length of reels to 3 minutes. It used to be stuck at 30 seconds, which I thought was just absolutely silly, because YouTube is the pioneer of and the largest repository of video, that they would restrict your short video to the smallest length compared to Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or any of the other places you could watch reels, vertical reels. YouTube was the shortest place, but now they've lengthened it. So yes, and I posted that in the community section. Also, there is I don't know where you are. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. I have the Stream Technology page on Facebook that you can sign up there and also get some information and posts and comment on the shows. Over here, I have another group for AirMix, which is the free iOS app that will use Android and iOS cell phones as cameras. So if you're looking for information on that, there's a whole group, unofficial because it's not supported by Teradek anymore. So it's a bunch of us who are using this orphaned technology and figuring it out for ourselves. I have a couple videos about that in the list. Also on Streaming Media Producer, you can go to streamingmedia.com and you can sign up for newsletters there. I get a lot of content, and I have a nice article coming up on the Magewell Director Mini. That should be in the November-December issue. If you need to reach out to me for consulting, you can go to Stream for Us. There's not a .com, stream4.us, and there's a contact page. And if you like what I do, I have the StreamTek, or just look for Anthony Barocas on Patreon. So with that, let us go back to the show. And again, I have the PTZ Optics Move 4K here, and I'll just put this on the floor now. And in the box, let me move this out of the way. In the box, what comes in the box? I don't know. Overhead. So here in the box, you get your nice manual. Tells you about all the different things in nice big text, not microscopic text. You get your stickers and you get a remote, which actually this remote looks a lot like a remote I already have here for my Verticam that I did a video on the YOLO Live Verticam. So the Verticam is a PTZ camera, but with a vertical sensor. Also, we've got several cables here. Oh, thankfully I don't have to rip all these back apart. So you get your USB to USB. You get, oh, that is a webcam. Interesting. So there's some extra stuff in here. I'm pretty sure that does not come in the box normally. 12-volt power supply, and what is this? Oh, Visa control. So there is several accessories. It is not going to fit, is it? It never fits when you're done. That's what's in the box. Probably not the extra webcam, but like I said, they sent that to me for doing an article, and they probably included the webcam as well as part of the kit. So a couple more comments came in. Michael Quist says, hello from Denmark. Good evening to you. The McGee Academy of Arts and Sciences is back. Good morning from Pico Riviera, California. Good morning to you as well. Which bird dog cam would this compare to? Well, it depends on the zoom range, but the bird dog is all about the new X line. This would probably compare to, let me go and get it. The X1 is HD, and so this would not be the one to compare it to. This is the X1. This is the X1. I did a show about this one a couple weeks ago, and this is HD only, but it's got this nice little display that tells me what the URL is, which is handy. I'm looking for a place to put it down. I have no more table left. And this one, however, as you can see right on the front, is 4K. So obviously this would have to compare to the 4K version of the Bird Dog. I am not a reseller. I don't have the prices in my head, so you can go to any your value added reseller of choice, and you can find out what the prices would be for you, because as obviously we have a Pico Riviera, California, Denmark, St. Kitts, Netherlands, and everything. So I'm not going to talk prices because prices are going to be different around the world. You have to talk to your local reseller. But I think this would compare to Bird Dog's new 4K camera. I think Seal Beach, California. Good to see you in the house. And Eric Jan Harlem in the Netherlands. Thank you very much for all joining in. And as always, I'd love to know where people are watching from. And welcome to today's show. We're not just limited to talking about PTZ cameras. That is kind of the focus of today's show. Focus, get it? See what I did there? But if you have any other streaming questions, feel free to throw those into the comment area and we can tackle those as well. And lastly, I'm curious, if you have PTZ cameras, what PTZ cameras do you already own? What is your experience with PTZ cameras? You know, do you like them? Do you find them to suck? They just don't do what you want them to do? Let me know. So I have a bevy of them. I don't use them. I use the Verticam actually in this show as a down camera, looking down at an angle at what I'm showing on the table. In addition to my overhead camera, which is right here. My overhead camera is a fixed camera. I'm actually going to widen this out a little bit. I'm going to try to widen this out a little bit. Not that way. That way. And then I got to focus it. Nope, not that way. It's got 3 different rings. There it is. There it is. Okay, so that's in focus now. So I can bring this over. And you can see on the back here, you got your line in, your line out, system select, RS485. You can plug your wires in there. RS232. Remember I talked about the RS232 connector. That's where that goes. HDMI out, 3G SDI out. So you're not going to get 4K out the SDI, but you will get 4K out of the HDMI. You got USB 2.0, so that was that A to A cable that was provided. NDI, your Ethernet right here. So this is both powered and connected with this. We'll get to that in a second. Here's your 12-volt power over here. Personally, I like it when they screw in, and so they stay put and can't get yanked out, but this one does not have that. And your audio in and out. I would also love to see, this one does not have it, has a line in and a line out. As far as I know, it does not have microphones. And I personally would love to see PTZ cameras start to offer microphones in these things, because if I'm doing a show and I want to get a little bit of house audio, applause, and the audience reaction, having the audio come in with this over NDI is very handy. And I've actually taken to using that because little PTZ cameras like this OBSBot actually have stereo microphones built in. And I have used the audio from this mixed in with everything else, your house feed, the wired microphones, wireless microphones, or whatever. But having this as to capture the audience is very handy. And I'd like to see some of these bigger manufacturers include that in here. Although I would think there might be a problem with the fact that there's a lot of motor in this thing, so you're going to get all that in the audio. So maybe it's a catch-22. I want it, but it's not really going to happen. As I mentioned, we've got Eric chiming in from the Netherlands, and Rome Knows Tech is jumping in. Hello, everyone. He's done a couple really good videos on the OBSBot cameras and the talent. So if you're interested in those, go check out. It's over here. Rome Knows Tech. Go check out his videos. And then down here we've got watching from work. PTZ Camera's Insta360 Link OBSBot Tiny 2. The OBSBot does have that Tiny 2, which is a USB camera, but it's still a PTZ camera, and it will still track you. So it's very cool. Insta360 Link is their little 360 camera, and that actually brings up a really cool point. Insta360 makes 360-degree cameras. I have 2 of them. I like them. And if you saw my NAB coverage, that was all shot on an Insta360 X3, which is a spherical camera. So it captures both me and the person I'm interviewing and the product all at the same time, and I can cut around and move and change the shot and everything. Wouldn't it be cool to be able to put down a single 360 camera and be able, into like around a conference table and be able to like window all the people around there and just be like, as opposed to waiting for a PTZ camera to move around to the right person, I would have this shot and that shot and this shot and that shot and that shot all at the same time, and I could cut between them. That would be really cool. Nobody's done that yet. I'm really surprised. PV says reasonably priced at $2,000 for the 20X zoom version, US dollars. So the 20X is $2,000, and remember that includes NDI and something else, which we'll get to. Sorry, my eyes are. Was there an Ethernet connection too? Yes. Can you get both the video feed and PTZ control via Ethernet? Via NDI, yes. Otherwise, you're going to, it does have, let me move this over here again. Otherwise, go to side by side. So yes, the Ethernet is the one, it's not your eyes, it's the fact that I actually had a cable plugged in there, so you didn't see the hole. So that's where my current connection is. It's powered and getting video and technically audio because it's got a line input, but there's nothing plugged into it, so it's silent. You could also, if you did not have an NDI switcher and you weren't using NDI, you can then use power, or you didn't have power over Ethernet, you could use this, and then you've got your HDMI and SDI, and then you can convert those, or just run a like a fiber cable or something like that, and then use RS-232. So that is what's available. I do a sports stream with some gaming headsets, but I was unable to get the microphones to work when I connect the DLZ creator. Any idea why? I don't. That is to the DLZ creator. I don't know what the DLZ creator is. So that would be my first question. Sorry, I can't answer that one off the head. And audio is a really challenging subject because audio is invisible. It's not a physical cable. It's not a very discrete pathway. Audio can be in many different places at the same time going around, and you don't, it's ethereal. And you've got phase issues, and you've got different issues like that. So I'm not going to be able to delve into a specific audio issue because you'd have to know the entire ecosystem around it, and that's more of like a one-to-one thing. Oh, Mackey's DLZ creator. Okay. Mackie DLZ creator is the Rodecaster Pro 2 of Mackie. Okay. And since Rode now owns Mackie, I'm wondering how long they'll continue to run the 2 different lines. I haven't used it, so I can't speak to it. I've reached out to Rode many times, and I was kind of hoping to get a Rode of the Rodecaster video. That hasn't happened yet either. So I keep trying. I keep reaching out to Rode. Do you know if this PTZ cam has some kind of outdoor housing? It does not. A number of PTZ cameras that are weather rated, like for rainfall and wind and everything like that, are few. Bird Dog has a couple outdoor rated cameras, and there are a couple others as well. And then you can get a dome, but the problem with the dome is whatever fog or temperature change, happens, you can't really affect it or anything like that. Plus, as you can see by the back of this thing, it's designed to cool itself through heat coming in the bottom and exiting out here, and heat in here coming out the top as well. So that heat has to go somewhere. It has to be dissipated. And if you dome this, you're going to prevent rain and everything. If you dome the whole thing, you're going to prevent rain and everything. But at the same time, it's also going to need some sort of air circulation as well. So technically, if you put a big enough dome around it and had it coated so that it didn't see itself reflected in the surface, you could put a fan under it to push air through the area. But these are not weather rated at all, as you can tell by the number of holes it has. Bullen has some good and not so expensive outdoor rated, but we're talking 5,000-ish. Yeah, you get to 5,000, 10,000-ish, and then you get to the weather rated. And Bolin was the OEM for the original Bird Dogs, which are the outdoor rated ones. So Bolin made both of them. So anyway, let's talk about this camera. Let's see. If you're not familiar with PTZ Optics, they make PTZ cameras. And also they make another camera. They also make a straight box camera as well. And they have the Move 4K is, just going to quickly scroll down here. That's the back that I was showing you. And there you can see the hole for the Ethernet that mine is plugged into. But again, you can choose 12, 20, and 30 optical zoom. And one thing I usually find is it may say 30, but I find things usually darken considerably in that last little bit from experience. Again, this is why you're not watching an AI version of this. This is someone that uses these things. And I find when I hit that last little bit, and the same is truth to be told for ENG lenses and still camera lenses, when you hit that last 10%, the darkening is very noticeable, and it's going to affect the amount of light that it can pull in. And if you're in a situation where you don't have enough light already, that last little bit, so it may say 30, but you may say, it's 28, usable without getting dark. This one has, as it says right here, the presenter lock. So that's one of the key features that is being included in a lot of PTZ cameras these days. OBSBot will track you. Bird Dog has been tracking for years. These guys have been tracking for years. The fact that they say that you can track sports, and they have demos on YouTube where they are tracking people doing sports, and sports is like a fast movement kind of thing. Not all the cameras can track fast moving subjects. So that's pretty cool. Then they have the web interface, which I have loaded up. We'll get to the web interface. They all have different ways of mount them up there. You can control them all over a web interface. You can control them from the remote that they include. You can control them. PTZ Optics actually has not just controllers like you see here, but they also make an app like Bird Dog does, so that you can actually get your phone on the local area network and be able to like set presets and save presets, so you can call them up from your phone. You don't have to invest in $1,000 hardware for a PTZ controller to, you get to a conference or you get to a space and say, okay, I need the podium, I need the full stage, I need, presenter 1, presenter 2, presenter 3, presenter 4, or seat 1, 2, 3, 4. And I've got those, 5 presets in there, save them, and then you're good to go. And you can call them up from your phone. You can call them up from a computer. You can call them up from a tablet. You can call them up from the hardware. So it's just making it easy. It's kind of expected at this point, excuse me, that you're going to have this capability, but they have this capability here. So here's the app on a mobile device. Man, I just cannot get this thing cleared. I'm sorry. They have the support, and that is the end of that page. But what we're going to get to is the control. So here is the control panel. And if you give me a second, I'm going to walk this over and put it in the tripod I have set up. Alrighty. So that one is set up on a tripod over there, and we can log into it. It's going to be a really cool login. Admin. And like that, we're in. And it should come up with the picture. There's the camera right there. And I haven't set anything up on this camera. This is literally like, I haven't pre-configured it so that it looks beautiful and you're all like, wow, that's the best camera ever. I'm not going to do that. This is how it came out of the box. Reset. This is it. But one of the interesting things I see here is, and let me just double check my browser. My browser is set to 100%. I have a full 1080p browser, but it doesn't fit. So that is something I will feed back to PTZ Optics that I don't know why it doesn't fit in a 1080p browser. Maybe I got to go full window or something. I wonder if I use the setting here and I go 90%. Okay, that's weird. I don't know why this expanded. Go away. There we go. Now it fits. So you can see you've got your zoom, your PTZ control, and then down here is your presets. Zoom speed, tilt speed. You've got image controls. There's your basic image controls. There's more on the side. And then your auto tracking controls, as well as your ports, if you're going to come in through your ports. On the left here, you've got an additional set of controls. First one is all about video encoding, your IP streams, IP2 encoding, 2 streams. Your audio settings for compression. You come down here to the next tab. Boom, 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 boom. Your RTMP streams. Stream 1, stream 2, 2 streams. Your SRT settings. Your multicast settings, which is multicast is an NDI thing. And your ONVIF settings. Boom, boom, boom. So it can be discoverable. Down here, I thought this was interesting. You can upload a logo. You can create different profiles. Quick profile select, custom CSS upload. This is interesting. Like I said, I haven't delved into these very much, so I can't explain to you what this is. If you're watching, you can tell me what this is. If you've used one of these and you use this feature, it's almost like you can create a web page and CSS for different streams. It would be interesting to know what exactly that is creating CSS for. Your LAN settings, mine's on DHCP, so it is assigned an address automatically. Your NTP settings, so you can sync these things up. Your NDI config is right here. Interestingly, NDI multicast is on a different page. It's not on the NDI page. Don't quite understand that. There's your multicast server right there. Firmware version. And then you can come down here to your eye, and it just gives you general information about this as well. If you click on the gear icon, you get settings, which we were already in settings, but now we get the settings section of the settings. You can see I had to put the IR on channel 2 because I already have a PTZ camera that works with this remote. And when I started arranging them for today's show, I was moving this one and the PTZ Optics was moving too. So being able to say, you only listen when I talk to channel 2 and you listen when I talk to channel 1, because this one remote, the remote that comes with the PTZ Optics, will control 4 different cameras. So you can, go camera 1, do this, camera 2, do this, camera 3, do this, camera 4, do this, just from one remote. And this is where you would select which camera responds to which remote. Like when you tell this thing, 4, do zoom in, zoom out, go to this position. That's where you're doing that. Your login, your firmware check, and then there's more menus. You click on this, click on advanced. This is where you can upload your firmware and do a network reset and a factory reset. So that's all over here on the left. This little hamburger basically just expands that. So your network settings are here, streaming settings. And again, like I said, the multicast is here, not under NDI, so it could be a different multicast. Question comes in. Does every PTZ use the same PTZ control? Not really. There's different versions. Like when we went into these settings, you can use Visa, you can use RS-232, you can do it over NDI, you can do NDI to a separate box, which then comes out and goes to Visa to control a device that does not have NDI. Actually, let me show you that. So if you had like a Bird Dog RS or a Bird Dog Flex, you can take PoE in, it'll encode your HDMI from the camera, encode it, and spit it out PoE. You can have DC in, it'll do DC out to power something as well. We're not going to get into that. But there's actually an RS-232 port on this box so that it'll convert NDI PTZ commands to RS-232, which you then feed into the camera with the ports that I showed a moment ago on the back of it, which are designed for RS-232. So again, this is several years old, and it's designed to talk to cameras that don't have NDI, because purchasing a Flex was cheaper than purchasing NDI for the higher end PTZ cameras. So you can have RS-232 for pan, tilt, zoom control, because it's just basically do this, you know, basic commands. And instead of spending $400 for the NDI upgrade, you could spend, I think these are $200 for this box, get full 4K, I believe, NDI, as well as the control through this. And that was a very cost-effective way, especially if you had multiple cameras, and that savings, 200 here, 200 here, 200 here. Oh, all of a sudden those things start to add up. And that way you were able to go to NDI with your existing cameras that already worked, that were already placed and already did everything you needed to do. But if you wanted to shift your back end to NDI, that provided a way while still controlling over RS-232. Carlos asks, what is the product today? Today, the product is the PTZ Optics Move 4K and PTZ in general. So it's a wide-ranging discussion of PTZ cameras and optics. And I asked at the very beginning, what PTZ Optics cameras, or what PTZ cameras, not just from PTZ Optics, but if people own PTZ cameras, what do you own? Do you own the little Obsbot? Obsbot. Thank you. May I have another? Find Eric. No, Visa over IP is now the most used one, but all brands use it. Some of them have special iterations of Visa. Yes. And technically, that's, I think, what NDI is. It's the same communication protocol, just embedded in the NDI stream, so that you don't have to plug in a separate cable into the Visa input or the RS-232 on the back of the camera. It's all, conveniently put into the same data stream. But when it goes into the camera sends the different commands to the different parts. Okay, I'm going to send a video, but here's the command for the movement. Here's presets, where to go to the presets, and things like that. So that is a quick look at the control panel on the web. I'm not going to get into the app because I want to have something else that I wanted to talk about too, that I think is going to be very interesting moving forward, and I'm working on making it the feature for next week's show, and that is, let us talk a little bit about Hive. And this is something that PTZ Optics has come out with, and I'm not going to demo it today because I'm going to try to get Ryan from PTZ Optics, he's really good, and have him be part of next week's show so that when we talk about this, we can really explain it in a thorough and informative way. Again, not a commercial, not paid for, but I think Hive has a very interesting way um, of evolving things a little bit in that um, you can have cameras anywhere, and using their cloud software, which is a subscription, using their cloud software, you can move between different studios. You, as a camera operator, can come in to a show remotely. And if they've got PTZ Optics cameras and they are connected to the internet, and the producer builds a room like this, then the PTZ operator or operators, you can have multiple operators, can control the cameras and not have to be in the room, not have to travel. Don't need additional seats for them to have to sit there and work on a controller. There's the controller. And they could be, at home, they could be in a different city. This also works if you've got a church and you needed to outfit a new church or add a camera in a remote area. You can throw it into Hive and it can be part of what you're already doing. Or if you've got a satellite office or something like that, and something's happening there, but I don't want to have to travel all the way over there for this thing that's only going to be an hour and then travel all the way back. And if it's going to happen regularly, wouldn't it be cool if I could just control all those cameras from here? And that is an interesting postulation in terms of PTZ cameras and streaming production. If you're going to be connected to the internet, you can leverage the internet for remote people to come into your studio. I actually have an editorial kind of related to this coming up, because think about it. If I'm going to take production and put it in the cloud, and I have to push all these cameras and high bandwidth content to the cloud to do this production in the cloud, and then I have to pay for the cloud infrastructure and all that bandwidth to get it there, what if I made my local table the cloud? I mean, all you're doing is you're substituting somebody else's computer for your computer, and you let people come into your cloud and operate things. You don't have to pay for the cloud. It's right there. You don't have to pay for all that bandwidth to constantly push all this, high bandwidth, multiple cameras up into the cloud. You literally, let's just say it's a truck. As opposed to doing the production in the cloud, you're doing the production in the truck. And those people you can remote can still be remote. The director can be remote. The technical director can be remote. The camera operators can be remote. The graphics producer can be remote, pushing graphics into your system. But you're still going to need camera operators locally. You're still going to need some sort of hardware locally to take all those camera feeds in and push them into the cloud. So you're going to need an IT person. You're going to need staff locally. So if I've got all this staff locally and all this hardware locally, why do I also have to pay for cloud if I've already got this thing? So make the truck your cloud. And then people can, let's go back to this, people can remote into the truck, the cloud, the truck. People can remote into the truck or your church or your corporate office or whatever and run the show. You don't need to add in Amazon and pay for an Amazon instance and all the bandwidth to get all these camera feeds up there if all these cameras are already local. Plus, you get the added advantage that if something were to happen with your internet connection, you've already got these cameras coming into a switcher locally. And somebody could, your IT person who is multifaceted I'll just switch cameras locally. I'm not going to do the graphics and everything else. We'll do that later. But you've got a fallback position if the internet were to be disrupted. Whereas if you have nothing locally but ingest and it's all being sent to the cloud, if you've got a problem with ingest, then you have nothing. Whereas if you've got this, yeah, okay, now my remote camera operators can't access my stuff, but I can still do it locally. And that's one of the things they have here is that you've got the auto tracking, cloud control. You could do your color presets. But the cool thing is it is local and remote. You're running the software locally and you're inviting people in from remote. And that itself makes it very easy. Now this is beta only, which is why I want to bring him in and help me with next week's show. I think that's going to be a very interesting thing. Again, you've got the tracking and everything. These are all aspects of the camera capabilities. But this, when you get down here, multi-studio management. Now imagine if you have the capability, you know, you're a church and you have multiple satellite offices and you've got different services, nighttime services here and daytime services there and different events. One person can quickly jump into one of the satellite offices and run a show. You can run multiple studios. And like I said, there's the local mode too. The local mode makes it so that it's not just remote. It's not only in the cloud. Somebody can walk up to the laptop, which is on the production table right there at that location, and do the same thing. So you've got both of those things, and you're not dependent upon the cloud if there's a problem. And the cool thing with the PTZ Optics is this part right here. PTZ Optics is building the Hive into the camera. So there's not anything extra to pay for or add. Once you set these up, hook them to an account, and once they can access the internet, and I'll get to that in a second. Once you can access the internet, then these things are going to touch base with the Hive account, and they're going to say, I'm available. What do you want me to do? And that's one of the nice things. You don't have to configure this thing like an SRT stream. Oh, let me open these ports. Let me do this. Let me, have the IT administrator, poke holes in the firewall and allow me to do this. These things are designed so that once they can see and make that connection, you can then reach through that same connection and control them. That said, even though it says instant access everywhere, I've talked with him about this and I says, well, if you go to many corporations these days, they're going to be locked down. And in as much as they say instant access anywhere, the caveats are, if you're in a situation where the internet access in a building, a corporation, a church, whatever, is nice and tight and secure, what usually means is the IT administrator has the MAC address, the machine access code, the MAC address of every device. And any device that gets plugged in is only going to get connected when it makes that hand check and says, oh, okay, I recognize you. You can have access to the internet. You can have access to the mainframe. You can have access. If it doesn't recognize that address of the device you plug in, it's not going to see anything. It's not going to get anything at all. So if I sent this PTZ to a corporate office, let's just say Toyota or wherever, and I sent this to them and saying, oh yeah, just plug it into your internet and I'll be able to control it from here. You're not. It's not going to work that way because those corporations are very secure, and any device that you plug, whether it be a laptop, you take a laptop, you plug it into the wall. Oh, I just want to access the internet. You're not going to get anything when you just plug your laptop into the wall. I have a TriCaster. A TriCaster can stream, but I cannot stream when I go to these locations with my TriCaster because my TriCaster is not on the approved list of IT devices. I basically have to take the HDMI out of my TriCaster and take that in to a laptop that has been configured to work on their in-house IT system. And when they plug that laptop in, that one can join their Teams meeting. I can't do anything from the TriCaster except feed them the HDMI that goes into their webcam of their laptop that's connected to their internet. So there's going to be a caveat when you say instant access everywhere. Instant access where you can freely access the internet, if you know what I mean. So that is a definite caveat to be aware of when you start talking about Hive and, oh, I'm going to be able to easily deploy these things. Yeah, you can maybe, if you're a church and your system is not locked down that much, you don't have Ethernet ports laying around because you're not a corporate office and people don't have access to Ethernet ports in the hallways. They're not going to be jacking their, laptops in and poking around your network. It's pretty secure. You've got a public Wi-Fi, but you want to deploy a couple of these cameras in a new area. You want to put a couple of these cameras, say, in the gym. for a possible big dance recital coming up. Super easy. If you got three Ethernet jacks in the gym, high up on a wall, you run three Ethernet cables. Now they're part of that local network. And once they can see the internet, you're good to go. It's that your restriction is a physical restriction of access to the jacks as opposed to a computer restriction, as opposed to being able to communicate with the network and get service. So I wanted to bring that up because that's one of the things I think might trip some people up, because in as much as you say instant access anywhere, there's always caveats to that. So, and I think that brings me to the bottom of the page. It does eliminate on-site computers, because once you have configured this thing, you can deploy it. Like if you have schools, I know schools that have school-wide networks, and they have Ethernet ports in the classrooms, and all of the student laptops are part of the network and everything. Once you set these cameras up to be approved, you can then deploy them anywhere in the school. Oh, I need 3 extra cameras in the gym for graduation ceremony. I need them over here in the library for a talk we want to have. I would need them over here in this classroom. You just move them around, plug them in, boom, and they will show up. And that it does eliminate computers having to serve these devices, but you do still need to set them up. I do believe it reduces overhead costs, and ideal for remote production. It's a good idea with the caveats that I mentioned. So if you have any questions on that, I can talk a little bit more about what restrictions might be. But the cool thing is it's built into the cameras, and I think this is going to be pretty big, because I find a lot of times people say, oh, I want to deploy a camera and I'm going to use SRT to get it out to where I want it to go. Okay, great. But SRT is not also a PTZ control from remote. Whereas Hive is designed for control first. Yes, it gets the video, but it's designed to manage it, the whole back end. Who has access to what cameras at what time, what level of access, camera operator, producer, owner of the account. You've got different levels of access that you can delineate, as opposed to I've plugged it in and now it's available to everyone, like an NDI camera. Yes, if you plug an NDI camera in that same school network, anybody who has access to NDI, say, oh, they've got a bird dog camera. Well, I'm just going to download the bird dog app, and oh, there it is. There's the camera. Now I'm panning the camera around. Now I'm pointing it at the wall. Ha ha. Those cameras don't have the back end that this has. The studio aspect of, let me scroll back up, the studio aspect of controlling multiple cameras as a designated producer, and not everybody gets access to this room. You have to have an account, and you have to have access to, your Hive account to be able to say, oh, and in my Hive account, I have a Toyota room, and in my Hive account, I have a church room, and in my Hive account, I have that. So these are areas I have been allowed to have control for those things. And then from the church point of view, I have this event in this room, and this event in this room, and this event in this room, and who did I give access to each of those events? So there's a lot of thought given to this back end, which is why I think it's kind of very interesting in terms of where we can go from this. Imagine camera operators saying, oh, there's this, I'm working the football game this Saturday. I'm working 2 football games, one in Chicago and then one in LA. I'm working 2 football games. I'm working them from my house. And I'm just using Hive, and I'm hiving in, and I'm controlling the cameras that are on the different coaches or the different owners in the owners boxes. So if they were to move, if we need to reframe and everything like that, I'm controlling 5 cameras during the game. They're cameras that are cut to occasionally. They're not the on the field cameras, but they are, whenever they want to cut to the box and have the coach reaction there, they can have one of these cameras there, and the camera operators dedicated to managing those don't have to be in the stadium. They're remoting into, not the cloud, but the truck. So I think that is going to be an innovative door that opens up, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to highlight these PTZ Optics cameras and this Move. But also next week, I hope to have a deeper dive into this. So if you're interested in that, tune in next week for that. The Hive program naturally takes it to a higher level. You're right about that. Thank you. And virtual production. I think we've extended virtual. It's like it. There's someone remote. There's someone not at the table right next to you. So it's remote production, but it's not in the cloud so much as it is almost, it's in the camera. And technically it's in the cloud because Hive itself, the Hive software is in the cloud, but you have a local option. So you can either have it available in the cloud, or you could have it locally and not have a cloud at all and just be local and controlling the cameras from your laptop locally and not have to worry about a connection to the internet. I'm pretty sure about that. Ryan will correct me next week. But that was really what I wanted to show for today. It's about virtual production, but it's also about the PTZ Optics Move 4K, which I think is going to bring this to a lot of people because there's not something extra to buy. You know, that's one of the things I think really makes the difference is that, you know, you could buy certain cameras and then you have to additionally buy NDI. And then you could buy cameras and then, you know, oh, if you want to do remote production, you have to, you know, I mean, in this case, you still have to like purchase, you have to subscribe to the Hive as your setup, but it gives you the capability. Now that I'm in, it opens doors to new ways of thinking about production in terms of, as an operator, I can work on any event that has a Hive connection anywhere at any time. And as a producer at a location, I can bring operators in from anywhere and have them come in just for the show. And it's like, I don't need you for a 10-hour day. You know, we'll rehearse, it'll be a little break, and then it'll be the show. There's nothing for you to tear down. You're done. So I'm going to reduce the rate to cover this 4-hour window. And then after that, that operator can then do something somewhere else, possibly. So that's why I think it really can change the way we think about production a little bit. I've worked remote events and I've worked different remote events, you know, 2 different remote events in the same day. And it is possible. It may take a while for it to grow to be more commonplace, but I think that is where things can be headed. Does the Move 4K have wireless NDI? No, it does not. I think the only camera that has wireless NDI is the BirdDog camera right now, because the PTZ optics are not wireless at all, as far as I know. This camera from BirdDog replaces the one that they introduced 2 NABs ago that never got made. There's a whole backstory between BirdDog and Bolin, their manufacturer, and that I'm not going to get into. But this is with a new OEM for them, and this one does have Wi-Fi as a solution. You still have to power it. So whether you run power over Ethernet and use NDI, or run 12-volt power and then wirelessly go back, I would probably use a better antenna than this little thing. You can do either. So with that, we've reached the 1-hour mark. I do appreciate you all being here. Thank you again for being part of the show with your comments and questions. Again, if you are ever looking for more information on these topics, NDI, the bird dogs, and cloud computing, I have lots of videos on the StreamTek channel already. Just click on videos and there is lots of content here for you to get started. It's just going to be really slow, so I'm going to skip it. And then we have the StreamTek page on Facebook where you can follow what's happening and shows. We have the AirMix group where everyone can participate and download the app for free, download the camera apps for free, stream mix audio, instant replay, record, audio mixer, camera lens correction, chroma key, build scenes, all of that. Free. Streaming media producer. I still write for streaming media producer, so you can check it out at streamingmedia.com. It is all about streaming media. And I did a big article a couple years ago all about NDI. Wait, gotta go to this one. There you go. All about NDI. So that is just a selection of some of the gear that I had for that article. And continuing along, if you need consulting, you could reach me at stream4.us. Stream for us. And if you like what I do here, you can join me on Patreon right there. And that's all I have, because the rest of it is the PTZ Optics stuff. So thank you again for being part of the show today. And wireless SDI. SDI is a wire. It's not wireless SDI. SDI is a wire connection. So no, not wireless SDI. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you, and I will look forward to seeing you all next week. Take care.